If you own a rental property in New York City and your apartment has been sitting vacant for weeks, the problem may not be demand. It may be how the apartment is being priced, marketed, presented, or shown to potential tenants. And every additional week that apartment sits empty is costing you money. If you're a landlord with a 2-family, 3-family, 4-family, or small multifamily property in New York City, this video is for you. I'm Wally Stewart Jr., a New York City realtor, and I work with property owners to help them market vacant apartments, find qualified tenants, and develop a better strategy for their rental properties. If you currently have one apartment vacant or several units sitting empty, feel free to contact me. My information is below. But first, I want to show you exactly how I would diagnose an apartment that's been sitting on the market without renting. The first question, is the apartment listed or is it actually being marketed? There's a big difference. A lot of landlords believe that once their apartment is posted online, it's being marketed. Not necessarily. Posting an apartment is simply making it available. Marketing means figuring out who is the ideal tenant for this apartment. Where are those tenants looking? What features are important to them? How does this apartment compare with their other choices? And most importantly, why should they choose your apartment instead of another one? That's a completely different strategy. If I see an apartment that's been sitting vacant, one of the first things I look at is how it's being positioned against the competition. Problem number one, the rent may be too high. This is probably one of the first things landlords think about, but I don't immediately tell an owner, lower the rent. First, I want to understand the market. Let's say you're asking $2,800 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. I want to know what comparable 2-bedroom apartments nearby are actually asking. What condition are they in? Do they include utilities? Do they have laundry, parking, outdoor space? Are they renovated? What floor are they on? How quickly are those apartments disappearing from the market? Because there's a difference between testing the market and simply being overpriced. Testing the market can make sense, but the market eventually gives you feedback. If you're getting plenty of inquiries but nobody applies, that tells us something. If you're getting almost no inquiries at all, that tells us something else. And if everyone who sees the apartment says, I like it, but we need to figure out what comes after that but. Problem number two, your photos may be costing you tenants. This is one of the easiest problems to fix. Tenants usually see your apartment online before they ever see it in person. That means your photographs are essentially your apartment's first showing. Dark rooms, closed blinds, clutter, pictures taken at strange angles, a toilet seat left open, cleaning supplies sitting everywhere, a bedroom photographed with someone's belongings all over the place. These things seem small, but imagine you're a tenant scrolling through 20 apartments on your phone. You don't know that the apartment looks much better in person. You're comparing what you see on the screen. Good rental marketing should help someone imagine themselves living there. The goal isn't to misrepresent the apartment, it's to present the apartment accurately but at its best. Problem number three, the listing description isn't selling the lifestyle. Here's another mistake I see. The description basically says 2-bedroom apartment, kitchen, bathroom, close to transportation, call for appointment. That's technically a description, but it doesn't tell me why I should live there. Instead, think about what actually makes this apartment attractive. Maybe it's a large primary bedroom. Maybe there's a separate dining area. Maybe utilities are included. Maybe it's close to a major subway line. Maybe there's parking. Maybe the owner maintains the property extremely well. Maybe the layout is perfect for someone who works from home. Your marketing should answer the tenant's question: why should I come see this apartment? Problem number 4: you're making it too difficult to see the apartment. This is a big one. You can't have a great apartment at a reasonable price and still lose tenants because the showing process is too difficult. Imagine someone contacts you Tuesday afternoon. They want to see the apartment Tuesday evening, and they're told, we can show it Saturday between 11 and 12. Meanwhile, that tenant has appointments at 3 other apartments Tuesday night. Guess what might happen? They rent one of them. Vacant apartments need an efficient showing strategy. That doesn't mean you have to be available 24 hours a day, but you need a system. You need to know who's handling inquiries, who's scheduling appointments, who's showing the apartment, and how quickly can interested tenants get through the door. Convenience matters. Problem number 5: you're responding too slowly. This connects directly with showings. Rental leads can move extremely quickly. If someone sends an inquiry today and doesn't hear back until tomorrow afternoon, they may already be looking at something else. That's why you need a system for responding to inquiries, not just, I'll call them when I get around to it. Someone should be monitoring the leads, answering basic questions, scheduling appointments, and following up with people who showed interest. And here's another important part: follow-up. Someone sees the apartment. What happens next? Did they like it? Do they have questions? Are they interested in applying? Are they missing information? A surprising amount of potential business is lost simply because nobody follows up. You don't know who. Your apartment appeals to not every apartment appeals to every renter. That's okay. The question is, who is your apartment a good fit for? Maybe you have a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment, but the second bedroom is small. Instead of pretending it's something it isn't, maybe that apartment is especially attractive to someone who wants a bedroom plus a home office. Maybe your property isn't directly next to the subway, but it has parking. That changes who we might want to reach. Maybe the apartment doesn't have luxury finishes, but it's spacious, well-maintained, and priced competitively. That's a different renter. You don't need everyone in New York City to want your apartment. You need enough qualified people who are a good fit to see the value in it. Problem number 7: you don't have a tenant placement strategy. This is where everything comes together. A tenant placement strategy isn't put it online and wait. It's a process. When I'm looking at an apartment that's struggling to rent, I want to diagnose the entire situation. First, I look at pricing. How does this apartment compare with competing inventory? Second, I look at presentation. What do the photos look like? What's the condition of the apartment? What's the first impression? Third, I look at marketing. Where is it being advertised? What's the description saying? Are we communicating the apartment's strongest features? Fourth, I look at lead activity. Are people clicking? Are they calling? Are they scheduling? Are they showing up? And are they applying? Because each one tells me something different. Think about it like a funnel. Lots of views, but few inquiries. The pricing or presentation might be the problem. Lots of inquiries but few showings. The communication or scheduling process might be the problem. Lots of showings but no applications. Now I want to investigate price, condition, qualification requirements, or how the apartment compares with competing units. Applications coming in, but they're consistently unqualified. Now we may have a targeting problem. That's why I don't like guessing. The activity tells you where the problem is. The cost of waiting. There's one more thing landlords need to think about. Vacancy has a cost. Let's use a simple example. Suppose your apartment rents for $2,500 per month. That's roughly $83 per day in potential gross rent. If it sits vacant for 30 days, that's approximately $2,500 in potential rent you didn't collect. 60 days, approximately $5,000. So imagine holding firm at $2,700 when the market is telling you the apartment might rent quickly at $2,600. You're trying to protect $100 a month. But if that decision creates another month of vacancy, you potentially gave up $2,600 trying to save $100. I'm not saying you should automatically lower your rent. I'm saying you should look at the numbers. Sometimes changing the price is the answer. Sometimes better marketing is the answer. Sometimes better photographs are the answer. Sometimes the apartment needs a few improvements. And sometimes there's plenty of interest, but the tenant placement process itself is broken. The important thing is identifying the actual problem. What I would do with your vacant apartment. If you called me today and said, "Walney, my apartment has been sitting vacant and I don't understand why," I'm not going to immediately tell you to lower the rent. I'd want to see the property. I'd look at the apartment's condition. I'd look at your current asking rent. I'd compare it with competing rentals. I'd review how it's currently being marketed. I'd look at the photographs. I'd look at the listing description. I'd ask how many inquiries you're receiving, how many showings you've had, how many people applied, and what feedback you're hearing from prospective tenants. Then we can start identifying exactly where tenants are dropping out of the process. Because the goal isn't simply to find a tenant. The goal is to find a qualified tenant who is a good fit for the property, while reducing the amount of time your apartment sits vacant. Final thought. If your NYC apartment isn't renting, don't automatically assume nobody wants it. The market may simply be telling you that something in the strategy needs to change. Maybe it's the price, maybe it's the photographs, maybe it's the marketing, maybe it's the showing process, maybe it's the response time, or maybe you're attracting the wrong applicants. But once you identify the bottleneck, you can start fixing it. If you own property in New York City and have one or multiple vacant apartments, reach out to me. I'll take a look at the property and help you identify what's preventing those units from renting. And even if you're not ready to hire anyone yet, I'm happy to have the conversation and help you understand your options. My contact information is below. And if you're a New York City landlord, subscribe to the channel because I'll be covering tenant placement, rental pricing, Section 8 and subsidy programs, landlord mistakes, property management, and strategies for reducing vacancy. I'll see you in the next video.